Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be my last video in my top 3 favorites in every category, and I'm saving the best for last. We're doing eyes, which includes eyeshadow palettes, yes. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we're doing the last video in my top 3 favorites in every category video series that I was doing this past week. I've done lips, I've done cheeks, I've done base products, and today we're finishing things off on a high note with eyes. I'm first going to be talking about all of like the loose little things, and I'm going to be saving the palettes towards the end of the video, just so you know. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool neutral undertone, and this just greatly influences how I feel about makeup, which is why when it comes to favorites, it definitely matters. I've been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love trying Essence and Catrice eyeshadow palettes and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that is something you are interested in as well, I hope you would like to consider subscribing. So yes, today we're talking eyes, and as I already mentioned, I have a lot of like little like eye things like brows and pencils and like cream shadows and those kind of things. We'll do those first, and then we'll get into the actual eyeshadow palettes, which I think is the part everybody wants to see, but we'll get there. And as I said already in other videos as well, I'm not including any swatches in this video because I already have so much content up with these things. So just use the search bar here on the channel or over on my blog, which you can find linked below, and I will make sure to refer you to any videos down below as well if there's anything I feel you can watch as a spin-off from this one. So yeah, this is the 4th video in a row that I'm doing today, so I feel like my voice is a little like shaky, so bear with me as we go along. So first things first, mascara. I did a top 5 favorite in every sort of product series as shorts here on the channel a couple of weeks ago, which I didn't finish yet because I ran out of time and energy, so I'm gonna save it for a rainy day. That's still like a content idea that I can still execute a little bit more soon if I have a little bit more time on my hands for sure, but yeah, life happened. So yeah, we have some favorite mascaras, but I showed you my top 5 favorite mascaras as part of that top 5 series, in case you were wondering. So if these look familiar, then I hope, you know, that means you've just been around, because this, I think, has been my holy trifecta for years now. We need to discuss this. The Catrice Glam and Doll. I can open this one. One of these is unopened, so I'd like to keep it unopened because else it dries out. But yeah, this is my Glam and Doll waterproof from Catrice, and I use up like 4 or 5 of these every year. This is my waterproof mascara of choice. I tend to prefer using a volumizing non-waterproof mascara first for length, curl, and volume, and then I put this one on top to give it like a waterproof layer, especially because the brush hairs on this are really good at combing through if you wear a volumizing mascara that can clump up your lashes a little bit. So this prevents my eyelashes from looking too spidery, and it also works really well on the bottom lashes against smudging. If you have a tendency to get smudging mascara on your bottom lashes, definitely try a waterproof one, because it can usually work really well. So yeah, this is a really lovely staple product. This has been my favorite for the past, I think, 3-4 years. I think I've gone through 15 of these tubes, so it has to be I need to mention this. So the one that's unopened is my Essence Lash Princess, because I only just used this one up a couple of weeks ago, the one that was in my Shop My Stash. So I always have one of these in backup. Get the green one if you get any one, I think. The Essence, this is the reason why I'm not opening it, because I find that Essence and also Catrice mascaras dry out really quickly. This one, the last time I used it, I got a solid 2 months out of it, but sometimes I've only gotten 4 to 6 weeks out of it, which is why I want to keep this closed and not show you the brush, because I know that I would have to use this next, and I actually have another mascara that I opened for my favorites video that is a favorite, but that I don't want to dry out. So when I've used up this one, I first want to use up that one, and then I'm gonna use up this one. And since the last 2 that I showed in that video are by Maybelline and L'Oreal, and Maybelline and L'Oreal mascaras can usually last me like 3 to 4 months. So I don't want to risk not being able to use this anymore by the time I've gone through those other mascaras. So that's why that's staying closed. But this is currently in my Shop My Stash, the Falsies Flared by Maybelline. I only ever buy Maybelline and L'Oreal mascaras on sale because this thing is now $18.99 here, full price. So I always wait for a buy one, get one free deal. Else I don't buy mascara that is not Essence and Catrice anymore because these have gotten expensive. But yeah, this is just my favorite. We have that Hourglass shape. It's a volumizing mascara and it works so well. I used to love the Falsies Flared, who remembers that one? And that was taken off of the European market years ago. And I remember one of the last times I was in the US that I actually still picked it up because they still sold it there, but not here. And then I felt this became the replacement for me for that Falsies Flared mascara. So I think I just recently saw another one of those deals. So I bought two new Maybelline ones. This one, I think they actually had this in a brown now. I don't remember. Like I bought one, I think I bought one from L'Oreal that was in a brown, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. Anyways, I bought a brown and a black one and I bought two of these, if I'm not mistaken. The Falsies Lash Lift is just one of my favorites, and this is going to last me a couple of months now. I only rolled this into my Shop My Stash earlier in the month, but again, this is like my 5th or 6th tube of this, I think, so that's why it had to get a mention. Again, something that's not super exciting, but I think a very good staple to have in your makeup routine is an eye primer, and I've got 3 here. I now have 3 favorite eye primers. For the longest time, I only had 2. The thing I like to do is something I call double priming. This is not a technique that really exists, but it's something I like to do because I have hooded deep set eyes. So if I want to make sure my makeup stays put, I go in with 2 primers. I go in with a clear primer at the start of my makeup routine, right after I put on my face primer, then I do the rest of my face, and then when I get to the eye look, I use my MAC Paint Pot in Painterly, which I set with a skin tone, like a skin colored powder eyeshadow, and then I'm good to go. So this is what gives my eyeshadow true longevity and vibrancy, and like making sure things stick down. And this is the thing, like these things make it to not crease, if that makes sense. Because if I just use a paint pot by itself, it becomes one greasy mess because my eyes are so hooded and I have such a strong crease, you could say, that anything gets bunched up in there. I don't like glitter primers because I feel they only hold on to sparkle and they don't hold on to pigment. And I find that then the pigment fades, but the sparkle stays on my lid and it still looks a bit messy at the end of the day. And I feel that if I do it like this and I make the combination, also glitters tend to stay put, but if I truly use a glitter nowadays, I tend to use a liquid shadow that dries down and sets itself. So I don't really need a glitter primer anymore for that. But yeah, this way I feel any makeup look looks vibrant, it stays put, it works for any eyeshadow I've ever used. These are my 2, like, first step in the eye priming routine. Milani is my long-standing favorite. This is, I think, my 7th tube or this. I don't know how many I've gone through this. I used to like the Urban Decay Primer Potion and the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, but those are quite expensive. Even though an eyeshadow primer, you can, like, it lasts quite a long time. But I just find that the Milani one, even though for me to purchase it over here, this is like twice as much as it is in the US. Oh well. But I still really like this, and yeah, I always have one on hand because I cannot be without this. But I have found that the Kiko Neutral Eye Base is as good as the Milani. So if you're in the EU and Milani is out of reach and you cannot buy it, this. And I think it's about as expensive or possibly even cheaper than the Milani one, and this has been lovely. This has a little bit of a tint, but I don't find that the tint is strong enough to truly cancel out redness and making my eyeshadow look vibrant. That's where the paint pot comes in. So that's why the Neutral Eye Base by Kiko has to get a mention here. I do think I'm going through this a little bit quicker than I do the Milani one because the formula of this is a little bit thicker. A little definitely goes a long way. And what I've also been doing now that I'm getting towards 40 is that I actually use eyeshadow primer all around my eye. So I also use it in the inner corner and right here, down here, in the outer corner here where I have a little bit of crow's feet forming, and it means your concealer won't crease as much. Pro tip. And then, yeah, the paint pot in Painterly. I've had this for years by now. I think it takes me about 2 years to use one of these up. I have been saying how I can feel the bottom of this. This is my third one, I think. So I've gone through this. I've had this in my makeup collection for a long time. As I mentioned, this by itself doesn't give me the longevity that I want eyeshadow to have. That's where the Milani and the Kiko come in, but this makes any eyeshadow look more vibrant, truer to color. This also comes in a yellow undertone called Soft Ochre, but Painterly is the one that I would recommend if you have a pink undertone, because this works really well. It's like concealer for your lids, and I know you can use a concealer to prime your lids, but for me that's often too drying, and it doesn't stay put as nicely on my lids as this does, and this is made to be an eye primer. So it works a little bit better. It has, especially I feel if I apply it over the other primer, have that settle down first. That's the important part, to apply it, have it settle down so that I can actually get to the gripping part. And this over it works every time. And if you like a tacky primer, you will like this by itself and you don't have to set it with eyeshadow. I set mine with eyeshadow because I think that a tacky primer affects the blendability of your eyeshadow, and I just want my eyeshadow to be incredibly blendable, and I want to be able to put my eyeshadow on blindly in the morning, and this definitely helps as long as I set it with an eyeshadow. I'm currently using a MAC Single Coat Yogurt, but I just use anything that's like cream colored close to my skin tone and I'm fine. More boring bits. I call them boring bits because I just don't try that many brow products, and I really only have 2. I went through my entire little cubby with brow products and I was like, if I have to pick favorite brow products, it's been the same 2 for years. The Soap & Glory Archery Brow Pencil and the Essence Make Me Brow in Blondie Brows. If I sound like a broken record, it just is. I'm currently wearing my current Shop My Stash combo, which is a pencil from the Face Shop, which is a K-beauty brand, and then the NYX Thick It Stick It. And as much as I like the NYX Thick It Stick It, I really do enjoy it, the brush is just far too big for my brows. This is nice and small. It dupes the Benefit Gimme Brow. I've tried all of the high-end things and I keep trying some things and I always come back to this. Tube number 10 when I open this, I think. I'm fairly sure. And then the Soap & Glory Archery Brow Pencil. I can go through some brow pencils that are pretty soft quite quickly, and this is sort of like that middle ground. The one by the Face Shop that I have now, I've already been using it for a year and it looks nowhere near done. And I also like to be able to use up products, and this is actually starting to feel like the texture I feel has just changed a little bit since I first opened it, because it's getting a little bit old from it being open, and that's why this hits the sweet spot for me. The shade is on point, the texture is on point where it's not too soft, not too hard, it's incredibly skinny, so it's very easy to fill in any gaps that you might have. I always get the most natural brow look whenever I've been combining these two. This is my favorite brow combo, and I don't really want anything else, but so many other products are brought to market and then I get it in my head that I need to try them. I now have bought the Refi Brow Gel in Soft Brown to see if I like that. We'll see how that goes, but so far so good. The only brow products I like are from the drugstore, and they've been my long-standing favorites for like the past 8 years. Here's where we get to the fun stuff. I figured we also needed to talk about eye pencils. I'm not a big eyeliner kind of girl, so if you're looking for recommendations for liquid liner, I just like Essence. Like, that's the only liquid liner I even own, I think. Maybe a Kiko one. But yeah, Essence is like my favorite liquid liner formula if that's what you're looking for at an affordable price point. Try Essence. Their dip liners are really, really good liquid liners. Just so you know. But yeah, that's the only recommendation I have because I'm not a huge liquid liner wearer. If I wear an eyeliner, I just use eyeshadow for the most part. And very rarely I will use one of these things, an eye pencil. Something you can smudge along the lower lash line or smudge it on the top lash And something that I have just found works really well for that is the Victoria Beckham formula. This was again part of the PR gift they sent me, so I do apologize. This is their Satin Kajal eyeliner, and the one I want to show you, oh, I always open these at the wrong spot, is Navy Noir. Mine looks very worn. I need to sharpen it because this is such a good, smooth, buttery formula. I would like to try this in every single shade, if at all possible. However, Lisa Eldridge now does a line as well, so I can't wait to try it. She does this shade in a green. She has a black and green. This is a black and blue. And that's like my favorite. Like if I want to do a navy smoky eye, which is one of my favorite smoky eyes to do, this is going to work. So the Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal liners, it's one of her best-selling products as far as I believe. And I think if you want to try the brand and you don't want to shell out, because this brand is super expensive, this is still like the most affordable thing you can try, I think. So I think these retail for around 30 euros or so. So for a luxury pencil, but this is one of the most pliable formulas that settles down that I've ever tried. And I have 3 of these shades, and I love all 3, but I feel that this one is the most unique in my makeup collection. If you don't want to splurge, if you still want a really good eyeliner formula, Kiko. Kiko is where it's at. I also like some NYX, and I have some Essence and Catrice stuff, and they do really nice things as well. But Kiko is truly where it's at. If you want high-end feel in a good range of colors that still sets down and doesn't budge, but you don't want to pay that kind of price point for it, this, I've picked up the purple one to show you today. This is number 13. It's really, really pretty. I very often use this to supplement like a purpley look if I don't want to use anything too harsh. This is incredibly pretty, and Kiko does a lot of really good colors as well. And I just feel this formula is very outstanding. But the place where Kiko truly, truly shines, in my opinion, is in their eyeshadow sticks. This is a dupe for the Laura Mercier things for sure. And I've just not tried many other eyeshadow sticks because I like the Kiko ones so much. As with the eyeliners, they do a ton of shades. They also discontinue them quite quickly. So, but yeah, this is my current favorite. This is 46, which is like holographic mauve or something, and it's a multi-chrome. It's green, gold, pink, and purple, which is incredibly stunning. It's quite a deep color, but this smudged along the top lash with a very basic eye is stunning. But they also do a skin tone one that you can use as an eye primer because these settle down without powder for sure. So you can use them as primer. They have a white one, they have a black one, they have gray ones, they have navy ones, they have so many shades. But they do seem to like discontinue some and then they come out with some new colors again. So the line rotates a lot, and a lot of the shades I own you can no longer buy, sadly. But yeah, the Kiko eyeshadow sticks I need to mention because it's definitely one of their standout products. If you get just one Kiko product, make it this. And recently I have really gotten into cream and liquid eyeshadow as well. Like, it's just what I'm loving. And I think these weren't even in last year's video because I don't think I owned any of them yet. Oh, I think I've created a new category for myself. But yeah, liquid eyeshadow. It's really been a thing for me in the past year. I've been trying quite a few things, and these are my favorites. The Glossier Lit Star in the shade Fawn. This is such a pretty, like, mauve-leaning shade. It is sheer, but for a one and done, and just something very easy to use. The doe foot of this does feel a little bit wonky, as in, like, it's, like, attached to the lid, and feels like it might fall out, so I'm not a big fan of it, but I do really enjoy the fact that this looks like a little vial, and I love the shade inside it. Sheers out beautifully. It's Glossier. It's gonna have that sheer quality to it, but this, if you were to like use your bronzer to add some definition to your lid, like to your eye socket, and then using this all over, you've got a look. But if you saw my cheek edition earlier in the week, you heard me mention that I bought a little set from RMS Beauty with their Living Luminizer, a mascara, and one of their liquid eyeshadows. And I think this is one of my favorite liquid eyeshadows I've ever tried. It's in the shade Strobe. I wasn't necessarily looking for this, but this is another great mauve-toned liquid eyeshadow. It comes with a heap ton of product. This comes with 8.5 milliliters, and you only need the smallest little amount to get this to go onto your lids. So this is one of those things that I don't think I'll ever be able to use it up before it expires, but the shade is beautiful. Because it is an actual like painter's tube, I don't recommend traveling with this unless you like decant something into like a little container and then use it from there. That might actually be working a little bit better because this kind of packaging, once it gets squashed, is just gonna go everywhere. So I try to keep it as pristine as possible and always squeeze from the top and not the middle, so that nothing, like once that metal bends, yeah, if you've ever been painting and you've used a painter's tube with actual like metal packaging, it's not gonna fly. And of course, everybody knows this was launched earlier this year. Mine is already showing wear. As in, like, you can see how much I've used up now that it's been sitting up like right side up for a while. But the Essence Luminous Eye Tint, I've been raving about it ever since they launched this in the early springtime. This was part of their spring summer collection for this year, so this should be able, you should be able to find this. I know it's on the Essence US website. Maybe it's also available through Ulta, I don't know, but this seems to be a product that they've spread around the world a little bit quicker than they normally do. Mine is in the shade Shimmering Taupe. There are some other shades as well, but this is just, it's stunning. There is one catch though. I cannot use this along my lower lash line because my eyes will tear like there's no tomorrow. There's something in this formula that my immediate eye area doesn't like, but if I use it on the top lid, it's really pretty. This settles down by itself as well. You don't necessarily need a primer with this. I would recommend with the other two to use at least something like the Milani or the Kiko one, like a sheer primer just to get a little bit more grip. But this one truly sets down and doesn't budge. And the best way to use this, if you want to use it to like full intensity, is to use sheer layers to top, like over, like on top of each other. Because if you try to go full on like the shade looks in the tube straight away, it's not gonna look good and it's gonna crease. But with this, sheer layer, blend it out with your fingers to really sheer it out, let it settle down, and apply another layer on top, and then you're good to go. With liquid shadows, I think because we're so used to, you know, when you swatch a shadow, that's what we want from the pan. I don't think liquid shadows are meant to give you that kind of intensity. So just know that it's not gonna look like this, but it looks very beautiful and shiny when you actually sheer it out and blend it out. That's when you truly see the shine. Whereas when you look at this, it just looks like a grayish brown in the tube, but it has a very beautiful flash. Again, this, and I think also the RMS Beauty one, I know I did a short with in January as part of my One and Done Shadow short series that I did. That's part of a special playlist, and this I did a short with as well when I showed you some of my favorite Essence products, because this is just great. And the final category before we move on to palettes is cream shadow, because I love those as well. And I need to tell you about my long-standing favorites. We all know ColourPop Super Shocks are my favorites, and these are my two favorite shades. We have So Quiche. I travel with this all the time because this is like the deeper base that I can use to like deepen up the lower lash line, or like around the eyelashes, or if I just want to have a little bit depth, a little bit of depth all over the lid, I use this. And then I like to top it or wear this by itself, and this is Ritz. We all know I love Ritz. I have pan in mine. I have backups for both of these because I cannot bear the thought of ever being without these. I'm actually now seeing that I'm starting to push it out of the pan. That's interesting. So yeah, this is definitely one I can use up at some point. Ritz is like a nude base with like very many cool tone silvery reflects. It works really well over quiche, or like I mentioned, in the inner corner by itself. These are great. I love traveling with these because it's like the quickest eye look ever. And whenever I'm traveling, I'm being a tourist somewhere, so I just want to get out on the town and don't like spend hours doing my makeup. And these are so handy to just pack. You don't even need brushes with these if you don't want to. I love it. Another recent love, and this actually I did buy myself. Did I buy the, oh, I brought the wrong one up to show you. But anyways, this one I got in PR, but the whole PR thing started happening because I think the brand saw my review of the lid luster I have in Mink. This is the shade Onyx, which is the black one, which I wish I would have brought Mink up here. I should have checked before I did, like before I brought these products up here. But yeah, the Mink one is like a very deep taupey brown. It's so stunning. Great one and done. Onyx is great as like a base for like a smoky eye, or if you just wanted like a smoke out lower lash line. This is stunning. I love this formula. It feels like a cream when you touch it, but it's definitely a powder texture that is very blendable and very easy to use. I would recommend brushes with this because it can be very intense. This with a fluffy brush and also the Mink shade I have and just fluffing it out is stunning as a one and done. And these are just, the packaging is stunning. This is what got my love for Victoria Beckham Beauty started. This particular formula, not this exact shade, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is just what I love. I just really adore this, and it's my discovery of like the past year. But another discovery I did is that Mina is another brand that does some really cool, different cream shadows as well. I picked up the boring shade because I love a taupe. This is 963 in their 24-hour cream shadow. This again, like the Essence Eye Tint, settles down and doesn't budge. So this is great as a base as well. And this is like more of a jelly kind of texture. Like it is a cream shadow, but it leans more towards the jelly than anything else. And this is beautiful. It's more of a plummy mauve, like a plummy mauvey taupe, than a true grayish brown. It definitely has a hint of purple running through it, and it's stunning. And this is one of the products I bought from the brand to try them for the first time because I had seen them around, but I wasn't fully aware of what they were doing. So I just popped a few of their products into a bag on Zalando, which is where I was able to find them best for like the Netherlands, you could say. I believe they're Spanish and they're like specialized in more colorful things. So they do a lot of fun things as well. And they're a drugstore brand. They are higher end drugstore though, but they do some really solid products. And so far I've put this on my eyes a couple of times and it doesn't budge at all, which I love. And finally, we need to chat palettes. So I have 3 categories here for you. I've got my top 3 favorite drugstore palettes, my top 3 favorite indie palettes, and my top 3 favorite high-end palettes. So that's what I have for you. So this is the biggest category today. The first palette that is in the drugstore category isn't fully drugstore, but it definitely fits a drugstore price point. And it's my rom&nd Better Than palette in Dreamy Lilac Garden. I want to try all of these, you guys. My YESSTYLE wish list is this long, and like most of it is these palettes because I love this formula so much. The rom&nd eyeshadow palettes were some of my favorites when I tried some K-Beauty eyeshadow palettes earlier in the year, and this was my favorite of the two. You get a row of like warmer tones and then this row of rosy tones at the top. Really stunning. You get three shimmers in here, which is decent for a K-Beauty palette, but the matte formula in here is stunning. K-Beauty is known for doing sheer, more buildable formulas, which is where my preferences lie as well, which is why this was such a success for me. I know this isn't for everyone, but if you want quick, easy makeup looks, look into K-Beauty because they do some really wonderful things, and this is my favorite all-time K-Beauty palette for sure. And then I was looking at my collection. I was like, what is another really good eyeshadow palette from the drugstore? I was like, this! Sadly discontinued because it was limited edition for Christmas. But this is by e.l.f. It's their Celestial Winter palette. And the only reason I picked this up is because I wanted to do a full face of e.l.f. again. Trying some of the hyped up products, and in that full face video, I realized that a lot of those hyped up Charlotte Tilbury dupe products aren't my favorite e.l.f. products, but more so like their standard range that everybody overlooks. And this is one of those e.l.f. products that nobody talked about. They are now doing palettes that look like this, and there is a purple toned one that's very similar. It just isn't this exact palette because this was limited edition and it was only around for a hot minute. The only reason why I knew of its existence was because I was on the website and I was like, oh, I need to try some e.l.f. eyeshadow, and the bite-sized palette weren't my favorite. I was like, I do want to try something new because the e.l.f. Earth and Ocean, while it is a really good one and definitely one of my favorite drugstore palettes, It's getting a bit old in the sense of to be still talking about it. If I'm doing a full face, it's fun if I can try something new. And then I tried this and I absolutely adored it. It's pastely. It really only has one shade I don't truly enjoy because it's a bit warm toned. If this was like a lighter version of this shade rather than this peachy orange, I would have liked it even better. But all of these shades are just stunning, and this blue actually works. It's an amazing little drugstore palette, and if this quality is anything like the 4 palettes that they're currently doing as part of their standard range, I would highly recommend trying this out because this is really good e.l.f. quality. And of course, if you've been here, if you were here last year in the fall time, I very randomly picked up the Catrice Fall in Colors limited edition eyeshadow palette for fall last year. I think I picked it up in like October, so I kind of just missed a lot of the videos I was doing in the summertime, like my eyeshadow palette collection and those things, but this was definitely in my top 10 favorite palettes of the year video because this blew my socks off. And if I now look at my little bin of more affordable drugstore makeup, like eyeshadow palette wise, this, every single time, I just love this. And this is already, like, I already know next month, October, this is gonna go into my eyeshadow palettes revisited video because I just love this thing to pieces. It's got amazing shimmers. It looks warm because it has that gold background, but really this orange and that cranberry shade, like, let me, if I fold it over and I cover this up with my fingers, can you just see that it's not that warm toned? That it's more like rosy taupey brown. It's so pretty, so pretty. It's got stunning shades. The shimmers are amazing. The mattes are amazing. This is again one of those gems that Catrice does, and they come out of nowhere. And it reminds me of how good Catrice can be and how so many people just try the bad stuff. But yeah, this was excellent. I actually managed to pick up an extra one and put it in a giveaway at the time because I love this so much. It was like, I need to share the love. But yeah, this was very limited, very random. I didn't even see this being announced anywhere. I was just in my local drugstore, found this palette, decided to buy it, and I was like, wowza, that's like one of the best things they've ever done. Next category is my favorite indie palettes, and I think these are all from like the past year. I've tried some really good palettes in the past year, you guys, and if you were here for eyeshadow palette month in August, you know that I put this in my giveaway because I fell in love with the Gloss Gods new neutrals, and this is just lovely. Gloss Gods as a brand is far more that like very creative, outspoken influencer kind of style, which is not necessarily mine, which is why I was so impressed with what they were doing in the new neutrals. This is just so stunning. I love the smoke and mirrors as well, but that one you can no longer get, so I was like, I'd rather put something in you can still buy if you'd want to. It's got a cooler like section, a warmer section, and a more neutral section. This includes a lot of multi-chromes. A lot of it has a green undertone, which is super interesting for a neutral palette. It's really, really stunning, high quality, more shimmers than mattes as well. And it's not overly expensive either. These retail for around the 38 euro mark, and shipping is like $6.95 to my destination, so it's pretty reasonable for me. And of course, if you're in the US, it's going to be a lot more expensive, but this was a really, really good one, and I enjoy having such a great EU-based indie brand that I just love and adore. So the new neutrals from Gloss Gods has been very much a winner for me. A palette I tried in the springtime is the Rogue palette from Fantasy Cosmetica, and I think Fantasy Cosmetica is very slowly becoming one of my favorite indie brands because I really enjoy their formula and their shimmers are amazing. They also do really good matte and shimmer combos, so no matter how you pair this together, it just works every time. Just felt that this lighter blue was not perfect with the teal, but it works quite well with all the other shades. You get some stunning shimmers in here. The new Fighter palette is currently going to be making its way to me very, very soon because I was able to order it off of Monolith. My first Monolith experience is happening, you guys. So yeah, I did pick that up with their last restock, and I can't wait to try that. The completionist in me wants the Bard and the Sorcerer palette because those are ones I don't own yet, but I don't think I'd get a whole lot of use out of both of those. I have the color stories that will work for me, like the Druid, the Rogue, And then also, I think the Fighter palette, I hope I like it as much as I do this one. But this was just excellent. I really, really enjoy their formula. This is a little bit more intense, of course. But yeah, if you like a good, like duochrome, multi-chrome kind of shimmer and you don't want it to be overly expensive, this is great. And the brand is stocked within an EU retailer that actually doesn't price up this brand as much as some other brands on there. So you can pretty much get this for just, you know, the price that the palette actually goes for. And Monolith has free shipping over 100 euros. So if you have a couple of palettes or a couple of products on your wish list, you wait a little while, you can actually get free shipping quite easily, I think. And of course, Glam Shop Simnamaka. I have to feature it here. This was my favorite palette this summer, it seems. I can't stop raving about this one either. It's light, it's cool toned, it's a fair girl's dream for sure. It's also out of stock, and I have no clue whether this is coming back, because some of the other mocha coffee related palettes that they did in the fall last year are no longer available on the website. So I hope this comes back. This was so, so stunning. It looks like nothing in the pan, but once it's on the eyes, I'm in love. I'm in love. This is the kind of thing I love. So thank you, Glam Shop, for proving to me once again that you can do excellent, cool-toned, fair skin-friendly palettes and sell it out, because this is currently no longer available. And last but not least, high-end. And here again, there are some changes. Are we going to be talking about Pat McGrath or Natasha Denona? Not at all, because I think I've just fallen a little bit out of love with those brands ever since I've decluttered some of those brands and also reorganized some of it. I just feel like I don't need everything they do, because some of it is so samey and it's a rendition of everything they're already doing, that I'm better off sticking to the things I have. And even though I still love those formulas and I still love playing with those palettes, I've tried new things that I like better. But instantly I knew I had to mention this. The Viseart Cashmere. Viseart as a brand is currently my favorite high-end brand for eyeshadow. I think their formula is amazing, especially if you have more mature skin and you're looking for a formula that's not overly shiny and that just gets the job done. Try yourself a Viseart palette if you haven't, because I think they do some really lovely things. And I feel that now they're doing these like cardboard packaged palettes. It's a little bit more reasonable. In my brain, Viseart is definitely a high-end brand, because when I was introduced to the brand, they only had those larger 80 euro palettes. They're now doing these and they're like half the price, which is quite reasonable. It's a similar price point to something like the Gloss Gods, and so it's quite decent. Like, it's really decently priced for what it is, I think. It's stunning. And this Cashmere palette in particular just has my heart. I wanted to show the Violette Étendue because I think I prefer it just a little bit, but that is becoming very, very difficult to find. There's only a couple of places that still stock it seems, being the Viseart website, and that's just not a great place for me to shop at because they're US based. But yeah, you get some like warmer tones, you get some rosy tones, you get some cool tones and some really good neutrals in here. This palette just comes together for me, and the Viseart palettes are magnetic, so you can rearrange this if you want to make it a little bit differently. And if you have a couple of these, of course, you can mix and match them and build your own palettes and customize them to your heart's desire. I'm currently not ready to do that to my Viseart palettes yet. I love these. And now that I'm looking at the Cashmere again, I'm like, that could be the next palette that I actually want to put into my October palettes I want to go back to sort of video. I already have 3 on the list, the Catrice being one of them. But this one, I think as well, is a good one for the fall time for me. And then the new bits, you guys know. If you've been here, if you saw my review for these, you know I love these. Lisa Eldridge, first of all. This is Vega. It's out of stock. I was on the website the other day because I wanted to see if some things came back in stock, and they are. The Sorcery palette is back. So I think my next order is going to be the Sorcery palette and the Liquid Lurex in Emily, because those are products that were still on my wish list. And then at some other point, I think I want to buy the rest of the Velveteens and do like a lip swatch video with it. But yeah, I tried the Vega palette and I fell in love. I just did. This is such an amazing palette for 3 reasons. First of all, the packaging. It's stunning. Not everybody likes this, but I really like this vintage compact kind of style. It's totally up my street. We get a magnetic palette. You can take these out. She also sells the palette or the shades individually on her website. You don't have to buy the compact, which I think is genius. And if you have a couple of these, you can mix and match the palettes again, like with the Visi Art. Love it. It's 6 shades, so it's nicely curated, and even though it's only 6 shades, you get everything you'd want. You get a good matte for like a crease shade, then you get like something that's a little bit more satiny leaning, that's really beautiful all over the lid, but not overly shiny. But you also get some things that are a little bit more metallic and a topper that you can just really play with and just customize it to your heart's desire. The blue is just a fun pop of color. It's not too blue, it's more of a grayish blue, so it goes really well with the taupiness we have going on. And the black is just a perfect liner. This palette truly came together for me, and even though it's only 6 shades, it can just go everywhere. And yeah, it's stunning. I love this little guy, and I rate it dearly, and the Sorcery palette is the next one I'm gonna get. Don't buy it before I can though, because maybe by the time you're seeing this, I may have placed the order. But yeah, that's definitely something that's still very much on the wish list. And finally, in the high-end category, also sent to me in PR, just for full disclosure, the Victoria Beckham Smoky Eye Brick in the shade Tuxedo. The packaging, first of all, stunning. Stunning packaging. But here as well, really stunning shades. This taupe is life. The only issue with it is that it's one big pen, so if this ever cracks, it's done. It's just done. The black is a perfect liner. I like this gray more than I thought I did, and I wish we didn't get this big of a white. I didn't need it, but I think that this can be like my next like shade to like set my eyeshadow with, and like have this little matte palette as like a standard setting up an eye look, but then I just want to use a one and done shadow with it kind of vibe, because that's what this palette now does in my collection. This has replaced my Naked Basics too, quite possibly. So yeah, stunning formula, really smooth, buttery, easy to work with formula. Even though this looks quite dark and smoky, it's so easy to control how you use it and how much you use. And this combined with one of the lid lusters and one of the eyeliners, it's a look every time. And you can like leave something out. You can just go for this if you like a matte. This is just one of those lines where just everything comes together for me, and the eyeshadow was just another winner in my book. So yes, thank you so very much for joining me today. This was the last top 3 in every category video that I will be doing for you. I hope it was helpful to get a full lowdown of some of my favorite products of all time, and that you got something out of it. So yeah, I really want to thank you for joining me here today. Of course, I will be doing end of year favorites in December, but I thought it would be nice to do like a sort of like 2/3 of the year check-in and just update you on some of my favorites. So yeah, thank you so very much for being here. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos every single week, so I hope you'd like to subscribe. And for now, just take care, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye!